Good morning, Rio Grande third graders. It's Tuesday, December 1st, brand new month. We're going to take a look at our DMA for this morning, and we're going to look at our first problem, which says there are 8 bicycles available for rent at the bicycle shop. Each bicycle has 2 wheels. How many wheels in all are the bikes that are available to rent? So we're looking for the number of wheels. The number of wheels. How many wheels are there in all? So we want to write an answer statement for this. But first, before we do that, we want to follow our KFA. So what information do we know in our problem? So far, we know that there are 8 bicycles available for rent. That's what we know. And we also know that each bike has 2 wheels. Now, the question asks us again, what are we trying to find, which is the F in KFA, how many wheels in all are on the bikes that are available to rent? So if we think about, there's 8 bicycles, and there's 2 wheels on each bicycle, then we can figure out how many wheels in all there are on the bicycles, on the 8 bicycles. Okay, so now let's take, and we're going to, this is day 2, so we're going to look at the back side of this so we can write an answer statement. But first we're going to draw a bar diagram to kind of help us visualize what's going on in this problem. So there are 8 bicycles, and there are 2 wheels for each bicycle. So each one of these bars is representing a bicycle. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bicycles. And on each one of these bicycles are 2 wheels. So I'm just going to put a 2W in here to show that there are 2 wheels on each bicycle, 2W. The W stands for wheels. So now they want to know how many wheels are there. Now, if you notice, if I were to add up my wheels, I could say 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. But if you noticed at the end of the equation, it said write an equation and solve the problem. So based on that, we're going to write our equation. Now, we could do 2 plus 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 2. However, we know that since these are equal groups, we can use multiplication because that's what multiplication is. So our bicycles are our groups. So we have 8 bikes, and each bike has 2 wheels, 2 wheels each bike, and we want to find total wheels, all the wheels put together, total wheels. So we are looking for the product here. So our first factor tells us our groups, our second factor tells us how many are in each group, and our product tells us our total number of objects. In this case, we're looking for total wheels. So we counted up 16 total wheels, and 8 groups of 2 is 16. So we can finish our bar diagram now by saying up above that the total is 16 wheels. Now we can write our answer statement. So our answer statement, our question was how many wheels were there? So we could say there are 16 wheels in all, and that's what they wanted us to find, but now we're going to explain how we found that out. Because if I add 8 groups of 2, then I get 16 total wheels. And so here is our showing our work. Here's our problem or our equation to show our work. And we have given an answer statement and explained how we found that product here. Okay, so let's move on. Next problem says we're going to round each number to the nearest 100. So we're going to try and remember that we're going to look at our hundreds place here. And we want to decide what two hundreds 112 is between. So we know it's between 100 because there's a 100 in the hundreds place. And our next 100 is 200. 150, remember, 50s are always in the middle of our hundreds if we're going to round to the nearest 100. And we're going to use 150 to help us decide if we're going to round down to 100 or we're going to round up to 200. 112, I would say, is right about here. And so we can see that 12 is less than 50, or 112 is less than 150. And since it's less than 150, we are going to, or it is closer to 100. So 112 rounds to 100. 208, we look at the hundreds place, it's 200. So we know that it's going to be between 200 and the next 100, which is 300. Again, between our hundreds is 50. So we have 200 and 300, and 250 is right in the middle. 208 is going to be very close to 200. Of course, I'm approximating or rounding to how close it is to 200, so 208 is going to round to 200. And when I add these together, my 100 and 2 more hundreds is going to give me 300. Now, if I were to find my exact sum of this, we could see that is this going to be close to our exact sum? Well, we have 100 plus 200 here, which is going to be 300. I have 10, and I have no 10s here, so that's just going to leave me with 10. And 8 and 2 is another 10. So 10 and 10 is 20, and 300 added to that is 320. And 320 and 300 are fairly close to each other. So we know that we estimated probably correctly. Looking at our clock, we are showing a time here to the nearest minute. Notice how it's not at a 5-minute interval. Remember, between each set of numbers are 5 minutes. That's a second grade standard that you learned last year. And so first we're going to look at our hour hand. Our hour hand tells us our hour, which is the first number in our time. So if we look at our hour hand, we notice that it is not exactly on the 1, it's not exactly on the 2, but it's in between, which means that this minute hand is getting closer and closer to the 12, and as it gets closer to the 12, this hour hand is going to move closer and closer to the 2, which tells us that it is not 2 o'clock yet, it's still in the 1 o'clock area. So it's 1, and now we can look for our minutes. Our minutes are going to be helping us use the minute hand. So it's pointing right here. If we know that we have up to 6 is 30, but if we have to, we can count by 5s. We could go 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. We should automatically know that at the 6 it's 30. 31 or 32 would be my best guess because they don't have tick marks, but I put the tick marks in here for us. So I would say this is going to be 132. If you said 131 or 133, that would also be acceptable, especially since they don't have those tick marks in there for us to be able to see. It's more of an approximation or a good rounded guess at this point. So, what time is shown on the clock? It's 1:32. We don't have an idea if this is AM or PM. We don't have an event that's going to help us. So, 1:32 AM or it could be 1:32 PM. We know how to count by tens. 7 groups of 10 or 10 groups of 7 is going to be 70. 10 groups of 8, or we can use the commutative property and switch these factors, and we know that 10 times 8 is 80, and 10 times 9 is going to be 90, because if we count 9 groups of 10 or 10 groups of 9, we would have 90 as our product. So those are our DMA problems for today. Seemed fairly easy. So I hope this was some good review for you, and we'll see you today later on in math lesson. See you guys soon. Have a great afternoon and morning.